What up, it's your boy Dragon, and this is a high-level Rasial walkthrough guide. In this video, I'm going to show you how to do sub 1 minute kills for Rasial. So, we're going to go over the boosts, the gear, the inventory, the perks, and at the end we're going to do a breakdown walkthrough, and then a full speed walkthrough of the kill. So, let's get into it. Alright, so the first thing I'm going to talk about is the boosts. So we're going to be looking at Relic Powers first. Conservation of energy arguably is the most important, with a 10% adrenaline gain on ultimates. That's a must-have, as well as Fury of the Small. That's going to give you 1% adrenaline on basic abilities, so that one is also must-have. The last one, I have Blessing of Het, because you're just not going to be below half health that often, or 25%, so I think it's better to have extra healing on food rather than have the Death Ward damage reduction. Alright, so the next boosts we are talking about is the health boost from Might of Het, which is 1500 health. Rather than using a bonfire, this is what I use because typically I don't get to do 5 hours or more of bossing per day, and you basically get 5 hours of this boost every single day. So take advantage of it if you're not playing more than 5 hours a day. Now for prayers, of course I have the tier 99 prayers. I just think it's, too good to pass up. Gives you a little bit extra damage, but overall it's going to be a lot better. And of course the familiar is the Blood Reaver familiar. Now there are no scrolls in it, and you do not need scrolls. They are a waste of money, so do not buy them. As long as you do the kill rotation correctly, you're not going to need the extra food or the extra healing that the Blood Reaver provides. Alright, this is going to be the full gear breakdown. So of course the aura needs to be Majorat. That is going to give you 5% damage. It's pretty much a must-have, as well as the Salve Amulet E. That's going to give you 20% accuracy and damage. This is also a must-have because of the ridiculous amount of damage that gives you over the period of the 1 minute. And then Book of Josh is the book that I prefer. I believe it does the most damage. And of course, the Death Touch Brace gives reflect damage back, which actually works at Rasial, so it's the best in slot gloves for the kills. Now, of course, I have the full tier 95 set. You could replace it with the lower half. I have the tier 90 set, so it works, pretty much the same. There are some variations in the rotation, which I don't have in this guide, but maybe I'll make I don't want to call it budget, but a tier 90 guide after this at some point. And as you can see, the inventory changes just a little bit. I bring a Death Guard switch that does have Aftershock on it. So when I switch to use the spec of the Death Guard, I still get the 20% damage from the amulet. That's why I don't have it in an EOF, because it gives you much more value that way. But of course I have green blubber jellyfish because they're faster kills, and then all the essentials that come with it. So your inventory should look similar to one of these. You can make some slight changes. Now we're going to be breaking down each of the pieces of equipment for the weapons, the armor, and the perks that are used on them. So for the Omni Guard, I have the Aftershock 4 Equilibrium 2 perk set, and then the Soulbound Lantern is Precise 6 and Ruthless 1. Since there's not hardly any switches, or in some cases you don't have to switch at all, this is pretty much the best, in my opinion, set of perks that you can use, because Ruthless is going to give you additional damage because Rasial does summon the Conjures, and just in general, since you're not switching, you don't have to worry about chroming or changing Precise Equilibrium, stuff like that. So not a big deal, not a big change. You can roll with this. Now for the rope top and the rope bottom, pretty simple. Fighting 4 mobile, Relentless 5, Crackling 4, it's pretty much a must-have on every top that I use. And then the rope bottoms have Devoted 4, Impatient 4, Invigorating 4, and Undead Slayer. Undead Slayer is a must-have, Impatient, Invigorating. These are going to give you the extra adrenaline that you need, so must-have. And then, of course, the Death Guard switch. Aftershock 4 Precise 2 is on that one because we have E4, R3 for the Skull Lantern. So mostly that is used for Slayer, but if you're using them at the boss, these work pretty good. This is what I used before the Death Skulls nerf, and it worked just fine. So it's also good for Slayer, so I never switched the perks. Now for the actual kill breakdown. So this is going to be the pre-fight segment rotation. So we're going to Bladed Dive from the bank, and then I have all of the abilities listed on screen and the order that I do them in. So basically you're going to get your adrenaline from the crystal, and then you're going to click on the portal. When you do that, you should summon the zombie, and then you're going to follow it with a ghost and skeleton, and then you're going to right click, rejoin the instance, because when the chat message shows up, you can actually use Invoke Death at the same time. Spam click Surge, and then you're going to ghost, Surge to get a little closer to the edge of the next phasing, and then you're going to use the skeleton, and that is your first segment. Now for the pre-ultimate segment, you're going to target cycle on the 4th tick after your skeleton goes off, and then you're going to use the Vuln Bomb followed by Death Skulls, and then you're going to use the 4 ability rotation shown on screen, which is Soul Sap, Touch of Death, Basic, Soul Sap. This gives you 2 Soul Sap stacks, and of course, 4 Necrosis stacks. For the ultimate rotation, you're going to spam click your ultimate keybind and spam click the adrenaline pot at the same time. When you do this, they should both go off at the same time. And then, of course, you're going to follow the order on screen, which is Touch of Death into Death Skulls, another Soul Sap. And then you're going to use Split Soul into Bloat because it takes a long time for that damage to add up. So you want to get it off early in the fight. For the mid-ultimate segment, we are looking at using a bunch of basics and then basically dumping all our stacks at the same time. So you're going to use Soul Sap, 2 basics into Soul Sap. But the key part here is you want to use your Undead Slayer on the same tick as your Death Skulls, and then use a Finger of Death, Touch of Death, Finger of Death, followed by 3 basic attacks to build back to 10 Necrosis stacks before you finish your ultimate, because then you can phase it, and then you have plenty of stacks for the final phase. Once the ultimate is complete, you're going to use your tier 95 spec, and then you're going to use a basic attack to get the double damage, and that should be the phasing. So while you're phasing into the next phase, you're going to use the skeleton special, because it doesn't do damage immediately, it's kind of delayed, which means you're not going to waste any damage. And then you're going to follow that up with Death Skulls, and then you're going to use the Soul Volley, because 5 hits is going to give you a ton of damage. And of course, back-to-back Finger of Deaths, and then if you can, unlike myself here, you can use the Death Guard spec to finish off the kill. If it doesn't die, just use some basics after using the Death Guard spec with the Death Guard spec on. So, let's run it back with a full speed kill. Alright, for the full speed kill, yeah, I mean, it's pretty much the exact same thing I already told you. So, this is the same kill, just sped up to normal speed rather than half speed. So, it's going to seem pretty insane how fast the mouse moves, but once you know where you're clicking, it shouldn't look that weird. Plus, if you're just playing regular RuneScape and not watching a video that's slowed down, you're not going to, feel like it's way too fast or you can't understand it. So, once you know what you're doing, like I said, you can optimize the rotation or change it slightly to make it feel better. I actually didn't use anything from PvME to build my own rotation. I just kind of like, going into something and kind of figuring out what I like and then trying to improve on it over a long period of time. That's why I have quite the amount of KC. I have over 3,000 now. So, yeah, this clip was taken a little while ago. But again, this was after the Death Skulls nerf, so it is totally valid to use as a strategy to get consistent sub 1 minute kills. So, once you break this down, it's into those segments. It should be something that you can memorize, and of course, going forward, you can kind of use the knowledge that you get from learning this boss and apply it to other things pretty easily. So, hopefully this guide gives you kind of a, not only a breakdown on Rasial, but a breakdown on Necromancy, so you can improve your skills. Hopefully this video helps, and hopefully I can make a few more in the future. I'll see ya.